Welcome to my studio. I'm Gretchen Olson, and I've been doing pottery for about 20 years. Thoroughly enjoying all the different facets of it, and I hope you enjoy what I'm going to show you. I started in college as part of my interior architecture degree. You had to take jewelry making, woodworking, you had to take ceramics, you had to take weaving, you had to take all these peripheral crafts. And this one in weaving really stuck with me because I'm also a weaver. But this one seems to be dominating my life at the moment. And most all of these designs are done with doilies, lace doilies, just imprinted into the clay. And you can paint them differently. This is actually the same doily, but you shape the dish differently. And you can see this is flatter, this is more curved. And then I use different glazes so it'll turn out differently. But all of these are lace doilies of handkerchiefs from my grandmother, stuff like that. These are leaves just from my garden around here, and this is dock, which is a weed, but it sure makes a nice dish for cheese and crackers, you know. And so I use this one a lot because it's huge, or you can do a gradation of different sizes too. I seem to work with nature since I'm living in nature, and I'm surrounded by all these wonderful leaves. And so even if I'm not doing raku, I'm just doing regular pottery, I often will make it in the shape of leaves. So this is bisqueware, which means it's been fired once in a regular kiln, and so it makes it hard and a surface that you can work on. And then I just take my little brush and paint away. And the thing about bisqueware is that it's kind of like a sponge. It really soaks up the glaze, so you don't have to have a super steady hand. As you can see, I'm shaking like a leaf, but that's because you're filming me. At least that's the excuse I'm going to use. And I think painting without a turntable is just so difficult.
Yeah.
It's really a good tool to have when you're painting and trying to do little detailed pieces like this. But that is that. So it's the opposite of what's imprinting here. So all these little points are what I'm painting here. And this is nice because it's thick and it makes a good imprint. Some laces are really thin and they don't make as good an imprint. So that's just kind of a fun little aside.
Yeah.
All of these are things that I imprint with, you know, cookie cutters, all sorts of stuff like that. And then I have a selection of rollers that you imprint into the clay, and they do all sorts of different patterns. Then there's even things like this, you know, your old meat grinder or whatever it was, pastry, whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm always collecting all these things, and of course it looks like it. But that's what kind of makes it fun. I at least got it organized, and so I know where the Christmas things are, and the flower things are, and the circles are, and all that sort of thing. So, but it makes for lots of opportunity of doing different things. This is imprint that I picked up in Thailand, and I wish I'd gotten a bigger one, but I've made so many of these little fish, and they are fun. I have a couple out in my on my deck here, and you can see how I've glazed them differently. But there's all sorts of tools. You can put glaze on this and then imprint your pattern on a bowl so that you get the shape and print of this. So you usually let this flame up as a yellow flame for like 5-10 minutes. then you raise it up so you'll hear the sound be even louder, and then eventually it becomes a force, and that's then when you start really seeing action with the glaze and so on it. And so much of this process is watching the glaze, and later on when it gets hotter you'll see the glaze change and it'll start to kind of run, and you'll see the obvious difference from right now it looks kind of cloudy and pasty to it'll look sort of juicy and liquidy and shiny. And you can hear the roar too. It's a different sound. The glaze will start melting and you'll see it in the can, the glaze changing from this kind of matte finish to something that's very glossy and liquidy looking. And you just watch for it to get glossy and away we go. Change in the glaze on the piece that you can see in the top. And then there'll be an even more dramatic in the next 5 or 10 minutes. Look at how it's all disappearing, that dark, now it's going kind of to a lighter brown color, and at the very tip of the leaf you can see the darkness changing to the kind of brown, and then it's going to start kind of liquefying. See, now it's starting to glisten a bit, so then it starts to become shiny. That's when you know it's really cooking. And now the glaze is kind of smoothing out a bit, but still very liquidy looking. And once the piece, because this is our first firing, this usually takes a little bit longer than subsequent firings, but the piece will start glowing itself. And sometimes flames come out of the top up here. So once that happens, you just kind of train yourself after a certain length of time of knowing when you should pull it out and get it in the can, because it's a process. Different glazes react differently because there's matte glazes and there's gloss glazes. So when you look in the kiln at a matte glaze, it looks obviously quite different from the gloss, and it's almost a little bit harder to discern when it's time to pull it out because you don't see as much a change as you do with the gloss glaze. So I always try and put a gloss glaze in the kiln along with a matte glaze if I'm going to be doing matte, just so that I have the gloss glaze to go by knowing when to pull it out. But then you can always check the pyrometer to see that you're up to temperature, and that kind of gives you a double check. Yahoo, that's warm. The cans, and put the piece into the cans. You can use a variety of materials in there. It just has to be something that's combustible, that's going to flame up the moment you put the piece in. It could be pine needles, even little tiny twigs, leaves, newspaper, magazines. The Ink In magazines does a little different kind of thing. I've just found newspapers to be quick, easy, fast, and you can have them ignite quickly. I also have a little bit of sawdust in here, and that kind of keeps the heat going. But again, anything that's combustible is what you want to have in these cans. And then when we slam the lid on, that's when the reaction, the reduction process begins. And then the true raku process, the Japanese, they would then take it out of the piece and put it in water, which is why they have high breakage. I don't do that process for obvious reasons, and I don't have much breakage at all unless I drop the piece as I'm transferring it to a can. It sort of seals the glaze and the color on it, apparently, and you get a different finish, but I find that if I choose certain glazes, I get that same effect anyway. So it just kind of depends on the individual potter and how they want to do the process. Come on, baby.
Got it.
We're just going to pull it back just a tiny bit. Ha! That's the key little thing here. Moment of truth. Ooh.
Wow.
Well, that came out really black, which is what you want. Very subtle. Ooh, look, we got flames going here. Very subtle.
That's interesting.
I kind of like it in a way because it's very. I'm going to do this gently rather than a complete immersion.
Wow, I like that piece. Well, that's interesting.
Well, it's subtle, as they say, subtle. And I knew it would be because it was very faint with the glaze, so look at how it's drying so quickly with the still warm. Yeah, that's got some real color in it. And again, black, which is what you want. Got some real coppery colors in there. That's one thing that's fun about raku is you never know what you're going to get. I think I've said that before. But I have 3 pieces to put in here.
Okay.
Okay, slam it. Okay, slam it quick. Yay! Yeah, you don't ever want it to go towards your face. Ah. There you go. So there you have it. Woo! And there we are.
Oh, wow.
That turned out really green. Isn't that interesting?
She never knows what she's going to get.
Well, and this was a test. This was actually a glaze, or I mean a clay, that, and see, this is what you're supposed to get, this beautiful glitzy color. So normally when I do a piece, I have it written on the bottom. See the R there? So that tells me this is raku clay. So when it comes time to glazing it, I know what to be doing with this, and because raku clay fires at a much lower temperature than regular pottery, and so I don't want to mix up my clays. And then this one turned out kind of neat with that glittery and then more of the matte finish. So I try and mark on it what the glaze is that I put on, as well as the type of clay. Whoa! The moment of truth here. Still a little warm, but look at how that, get that glazy, glossy finish and the nice black edge, which is what you want. So this piece is cool enough. I'm going to put it in here, and you kind of clean all the soot off, and you can see the finished product, and it becomes very black, which is the keynote of raku, is you will have this rich black with the firing. Yeah. Ooh, that's hot too. Hoo, hoo, hoo. Hot, hot, hot. Oh, that's pretty. Get that shine. This was a lace handkerchief. So very different. Okay, quick. No burping this time.
Wow.
Wow is right. Ooh, a little smoke in my eyes. Yeah. Wow.
That's
Yeah.
stupid.
You can edit that out.
Oh,
Can you see that?
yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Very shiny.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful.
Okay, go for it. Yep. Don't want no flames.
Okay.
Wow.
Whoa.
What?
That's cool.
That's sparkly.
Yeah.
The stupid
Yeah,
puppy.
maybe I will.
That looks really nice.
That's a beautiful piece. That's your best one. Sophie and I were just talking about why on some of these other plates are some sparkly and others
Well,
not.
maybe we've discovered something
I think
here.
you have. Good with sand. That's beautiful, dude.
Yeah. And this glaze here in the center was different than this. This here and these little spots are actually the same glaze. And in some of it you can see that. But overall it's very coppery looking.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Yeah,
I
well.
love the iridescent color.
We have a winner.